Morning. Today we will discuss identification of igneous rocks under microscope. You all know to observe the rock under microscope we have to prepare thin section that I have already discussed in one of my last videos. A rock chip is cut and is mounted on a slide with the help of Canada balsam. The other upper surface, which is rough, is again grinded and made to thickness of 0.03 mm, and after that the cover slip is fixed with the help of Canada balsam. This is the permanent preparation of a slide or thin section which is observed under your polarizing or pathological microscope. Again, in geology there are two types of microscope. One is your pathological or polarizing microscope, in which we study minerals, rock forming minerals in transmitted light, whereas the other microscope is your ore microscope, in which we study ore minerals in reflected light. So we are talking of igneous rocks, the identification of igneous rocks. So they are studied under, you can say, your polarizing or pathological microscope in transmitted light. You can see in the diagram the sketch of an microscope. Now, as such, microscope is a magnifying instrument, but if it has two additional features, that is polarizer and analyzer. This polarizer is fixed below the stage, whereas this analyzer is above the stage. These two Nicol prisms, if they are an additional features of any microscope, then that becomes your polarizing or pathological microscope. The thin section is kept on the stage. This is a rotating stage, is here. Light, it comes, it's reflected, it passes through this, and ultimately through the thin section of the rock, and finally to the ocular object. So this arrangement that already discussed, today I will concentrate on the different optical properties that are naturally the tools that help in identifying the rocks. A rock is named on the basis of texture and mineral composition. So once we put our slide on the microscope stage, first of all we should rotate, or you can see the traverses, means overall visualization of the slide should be taken, and on that basis the texture should be mentioned. That we will talk later on regarding the texture. The next important is to identify the minerals qualitatively and quantitatively. Once we say quantitatively, it means the different rock forming minerals that are present. Once we say qualitatively, means their amount, their percent, that is the model count of the individual mineral, that are considered. Now there are three arrangements. We can make three arrangements, and different optical properties are studied under. The first arrangement is your simply the study under the plain polarized light. Only when there is an analyzer, that is this polarizer which is below stage, is in position. This your analyzer is in out position, is not inserted. Under such conditions we study color, that is the color of that particular mineral which that is we are observing, and paleochroism. You all know that all minerals are not paleochroic. The question of paleochroism in felsic mineral doesn't arise. Mafic minerals may be paleochroic, and you all know the most paleochroic mineral is your hornblende. The second optical property we study in plain polar light is the relief. Relief means from a normal surface whether that mineral is elevated or depressed. Third is form and shape. What is the form and shape? Is the outline of the mineral. And then fourth is the cleavage. So these four optical properties, they are studied under plane polarized light. Right. In under cross Nichols, when means this your polarizer as well as your analyzer, both they are in position, they are inserted. That is that you can say that is the cross Nichols position, and under such we identify the extinction angle of the mineral, and the extinction you can say it, interference figure, and the twinning. So these three optical properties they are observed under cross Nichols. And the third arrangement is your coroscopic arrangement. The first two they are called as such orthoscopic arrangement. The third is the coroscopic arrangement, in which this your Burton lens, in addition to this your analyzer and polarizer, right? In addition to your polarizer, analyzer, and this Burton lens, they are in position, and in coroscopic arrangement we find out the interference figure, the optic sign, 2V, and dispersion. So these optical properties we identify under coroscopic, or you can say the coroscopic arrangement. Right. Now in general, if you classify the minerals, you can say the optical classification of minerals, they are broadly categorized into two categories, that is isotropic and anisotropic. Isotropic, the minerals of cubic system are in isotropic, whereas the rest are anisotropic. Further, in anisotropic, the minerals of tetragonal and hexagonal system they are uniaxial, whereas the minerals of orthorhombic, monoclinic, triclinic they are biaxial. Then further we determine the optic sign, positive or negative, on the basis of their ordinary and extraordinary vibrations. So in general, if you say the rock forming minerals broadly, or you can say the classification, optical classification of these minerals is broadly isotropic and anisotropic. Isotropic minerals are those in which light moves or passes with constant velocity. So if in a microscope there is an isotropic mineral, it will appear dark in all positions. Right? It will appear dark in all positions. When you rotate the stage, it will remain dark through and through. So such minerals they are isotropic, and the minerals of cubic system they have been classified, they have been known to be the isotropic. Now further, how to proceed? Suppose in a rock there are number of minerals, how to identify the mineral, that is important. So we have to take the help of their optical properties of individual minerals. In general, rock forming silicate minerals we categorize into two categories, felsic and mafic. Felsic minerals are of your feldspar group dominantly, because more than 55% in the earth crust or in the rocks are the feldspars. Then is your quartz, and then the feldspathoids. These three groups they are together known as the felsic minerals, and the character of this is that they don't have iron and magnesium in their composition. As such, they are colorless. So once you visualize a mineral in thin section as colorless, or you can say bit cloudy or turbid, because feldspar they do get altered. So the mineral is any of these felsic minerals. Forget about your mafic minerals. Then further, whether it is quartz or it is orthoclase, say alkali feldspar, or it is a plesioclase, then further we have to see the additional optical properties. Quartz, the characteristic optical property of quartz, it is colorless, has low relief, absence of cleavage. These three typical optical properties, though they have all other uniaxial and all that, but we should concentrate on the diagnostic or the you can say significant optical property. So these three optical properties together, if you observe in a mineral, they will naturally conclude to be a quartz. Once again I repeat, quartz, it is a felsic mineral, it is colorless, has low relief and absence of cleavage. Then mineral orthoclase. Orthoclase feldspars we can categorize into two categories: alkali feldspar and plagioclase feldspars. Orthoclase again, in general, if it is a fresh, it will be colorless, but if they are, you can say, altered, they will be bit turbid. So orthoclase, it will appear as you are say colorless to turbid on account of alteration if it is there. Then it has cast bar twinning, the important optical properties. Cast bar twinning. Twinning means when you rotate, the half of the portion of the mineral will be dark and half will be light. On further rotation, lighter will become dark and darker will become light. If such phenomenon is shown by a mineral, that it bears the cast bar twinning, and that is the characteristic optical property of your orthoclase. The plagioclase, they are very easy to identify. First of all, because they are feldspars, so they are colorless or bit turbid or cloudy on account of alteration. Second, they have their latch shape. Latch shape means they are better grown in two direction compared to third direction. And the fourth is they have the polysynthetic twinning, means alternate light and dark broad bands will be there. On rotation, dark part will become light and light part will become dark. This is polysynthetic twinning, which is characteristic of your plagioclase feldspars. So they are very easy to identify plagioclase feldspars in that way. Then coming to mafic minerals, if a mineral shows some color, naturally it belongs to mafic group. You forget about or you can reject your felsic mineral. You can say it cannot be quartz, it cannot be feldspar, it cannot, you can say plagioclase or this feldspathoids. Then in mica group we have one set of cleavage. After color, you try to observe the cleavage. If the mineral is showing one set of cleavage, it belongs to mica group. If it shows two set of cleavage, it either belongs to amphibole group or pyroxene group. Looking to the relations, if the cleavage they are oblique, if they are making 56 and 124 degree angle, then that mineral is of your amphibole group. Because amphiboles in general they have oblique cleavages, exact angle is 56 and 124. So it is very easy to categorize or to demarcate mineral to amphibole group. If you observe two set of cleavage and that two are oblique, means it belongs to amphibole group. Similarly, if a mineral show two set of cleavage but they are perpendicular, exact angle is 88 and 92 degree, means that mineral belongs to pyroxene group. So you try to reach to a mineral group. Later we can differentiate different members of a group on the basis of extinction angle. That is common to all, whether it is a plagioclase or it is amphibole or pyroxene, whatever it is. First, don't try to straightway name exact name of that mineral, but you try by selection and rejection methods and try to reach to a group. If you reach to a group, say that you are sure that it has two set of cleavage and the angle is 56 and 124, naturally it belongs to amphibole group. Further, which is the member, that will be decided on the basis of the extinction angle. Similarly, in case of pyroxenes, if it has two set of cleavage are perpendicular, they are forming 188 and 92 degree angle, that mineral belongs to your pyroxene group. Pyroxene, again, they are divided broadly into two, that is your orthorhombic pyroxene and clinopyroxene. Orthorhombic pyroxene, they have straight extinction, means you have reached to the group, further within the group, which is, whether it is in orthorhombic means hypastine instatite or clino means diapside oxide. So orthorhombic pyroxenes in general they have straight extinction. So further we distinguish the group members on the basis of the extinction angle. Then there are olivine. In olivine they are polyhedral shape and instead of cleavages there are cracks, irregular fractures in the minerals. And if it is magnesium rich, the color will go towards lighter side, right? And your Fe rich members, they will be reddish to dark brownish. So this is in general that you can say for this first class, because it takes lot of time, it needs practice to identify minerals under microscope or identify the rocks under microscope. But first, for the first class or for the first video on this identification of rocks, that in turn the identification of your minerals, because rocks are named on the basis of the mineral and the texture. So we should have very expertise in identifying different minerals and to identify different silicate minerals, because silicate minerals, they are more than 90%. So more or less, except few rocks, they have essential mineral as your silicate minerals. Then in silicate minerals, we should divide them into two, felsic and mafic. Then in felsic, again the different minerals, we should remember their diagnostic significant optical properties, just I told you, and similarly for the mafic minerals. And ultimately, when you describe the thin section, that should again be in the description in your practical file or in the examination. It should be that first you make a sketch of what you are observing under microscope. Second, then you write the texture, means the texture, whether the rock is pediomorphic or equigranular, polylitic, whatever it is, the texture part. Then the mineral composition again will be in three heads, that is your essential mineral, accessory mineral, secondary mineral. Then ultimately the name, that on the basis of texture the given rock in thin section may be. And finally the genesis of that rock. If you are observing certain features, for example, if there is a graphic intergrowth, it means they have that there was eutectic crystallization. So means, for example, you are observing a granite and you find, in addition to epidemiomorphic texture, there is graphic texture. So in genesis part you will write that there had been the eutectic crystallization and hence the graphic intergrowth texture was noticed. So like you have to describe, this is just in model and outline how to describe a rock in thin section. In my further classes or further videos, I will describe in detail the identification of different rocks under microscope. Thank you very much. Thank you.